Welcome to the Rhode Island Division of Developmental Disabilities Quarterly Community Forum. Wednesday, May 17th, 2022. Hosted by Advocates in Action Rhode Island.
My name is Kelly Donovan, and I am with the agency Rhode Island, well, we're nonprofit, Advocates in Action Rhode Island, and I am a person who receives services from the state system. And today for our forum that tells us news with what's going on in the disability world, here is the director of development, the Division of Developmental Disabilities of Rhode Island, Kevin Savage.
Thank you very much, Kelly. Appreciate the introduction. Thanks for having me again at our quarterly community forums. I love being here, and it's great to see everyone coming up on the screen. We have excellent attendance today, over 110 people so far attending the meeting today. And I appreciate everyone coming out. I know it's in the middle or at the end of summer vacation season or summer staycation season for many of us who don't really want to travel this year. But thanks for showing up. I was asked to tell you that the recording link will be available to everybody who registered for today's forum. That's all I really know about it. People are telling me how to say it, but I didn't quite get the details of it, but the link will be available, and I think it will be sent out if you need it sent to your email. Is that correct, Deb?
The link will, and you'll hear different links mentioned in the when they speak, and you'll get those also. You'll be able to see, like, oh, here's what they were talking about. I can click here and see it.
Yeah, so you don't need to request it. It will automatically go to you and be accessible to you. So I wanted to kind of start today with just letting you know how this meeting will go, particularly for those of you who haven't been to community forums in maybe the last 3 or 4 forums. The state will go through a number of updates so that you get the information that's new since the last forum. And then what I want to do is open it up to questions from the community, or even things that you might want to share with the rest of the community so that we're hearing from you. The purpose of today is so that we're interacting with each other and hearing from each other. I received a list of community forum sort of responses on what do you want to get out of it. So a number of people said that what they wanted to get out of it is really to hear the updates, and then a number of people had things that they wanted to share or questions they wanted to ask. And I'm more than happy to spend at least half the time hearing from all of you. And that way, everybody can benefit from your questions and the responses that don't only impact you, but will also benefit the rest of the DD community. So I'm going to start with updates from the state, and I will try to talk about things that I think will impact everybody. So under the guideline of the consent decree, and for those of you who aren't aware, the consent decree is under the jurisdiction of the court. It was brought by the U.S. Department of Justice, finding that we were not appropriately meeting the civil rights requirements for people with disabilities. And it was a 10-year consent decree where it's scheduled to be completed by 2024. We're working very hard to make sure that gets done. And it's a finding for the state of Rhode Island. There are particular named parties in the consent decree, and the Department of BHDDH, Behavioral Healthcare Developmental Disabilities in the hospital, is one of the parties. DD, the division of DD, of course, is the lead division in the agency on that. And I'm just going to talk to you about a few areas that we're working on right now. One is what we call the Transformation Fund, which was part of an action plan, which is an order of the court to provide funding in the community to assist in certain areas to make progress in meeting the goals of the consent decree. And it came out in 2 phases. Phase 1 was to really help in building a workforce capacity in the system. And under that, we're actually going to be working very soon with the providers. All of that funding went to the developmental disability organizations to build workforce capacity. And we'll be working with them on how we're going to report outcomes. And we should have information on what that looks like at our next community forum. Phase 2 is, I think, even more exciting because that is really working from the vantage point of greater innovation, things that we really haven't done before, to improve community access and employment access for the community of adults with disabilities, to do things in different ways, to gain access to the community, to figure out ways to build employment access, and to do the things that adults with disabilities want to do and really haven't been able to gain access to doing. And so we'll have a lot to talk about in terms of those two transformation projects that are being funded through the state. But a lot of the things in the second phase have to do with collaboration among people who provide supports to adults with disabilities and those who are receiving the supports, and gaining access through different kinds of connections, expanding capacity, hearing the voice in a greater way than in the past of adults with disabilities, and for those providing the services, gaining a deeper knowledge of what it is that people need and want, using technology, which we'll talk about in a bit, and continuing to build connections. Talking about peer and family education and empowerment and workforce development that focuses in a deeper way on professional development for those who are providing supports and working with people who are engaged in self-employment. So a lot of exciting opportunities. That's just really the tip of the iceberg. There were all kinds of really wonderful proposals that came through. I think there were 28 in all, and each of them brought their own kind of special outlook that really focused on doing things in a way that, as I use the term innovative, but in a special way that really meets individual targets and specialized populations to bring things to the community that we haven't been able to do before. We're excited about being able to get this funding out. The money actually went out yesterday. We're excited that that's happened, and we're looking forward to progress that will come to the adult with disability community. So we can talk about questions about that at the end, but I just wanted to let you know where we are. Heather's going to give a brief update on the technology fund. Heather Mincy, who is the assistant director.
Hello. So I just want to let people know that regarding the technology fund, there's a $2 million fund, which I hope at this point most people are aware of. We are still going through our first round of applications. We're actually in the period now where we needed to collect more information from individuals. So we're still working on getting back that information for individuals. And then we'll be sending out information to the agencies about what people were approved for and working with the providers to acquire that technology and get it out to individuals. We had our second technology forum last Wednesday. There's a link on the BHDDH website, so you can view that technology forum if you missed it. There's also frequently asked questions on that same web page. And thank you, Andrew. I believe you just put the link up in the chat box so everybody has that. We did update our frequently asked questions recently. So if you haven't seen them in a little while, you might want to take a look because there is some additional information in there. And we also updated our request form, just hopefully, from lessons learned the first time around and just needing to get the exact information we need from individuals. We again made some updates to that form to hopefully help moving forward in getting exactly the information that we need. So we don't have as much back and forth with individuals and needing to ask them more specific questions. So I think that's all that I have. If there's questions, like Kevin said at the end, I can answer that. But there is a lot of information on that link that Andrew just said regarding the technology fund. Thanks, Kevin.
All right, thanks, Heather. The next item on the agenda is the rate review. And this is a review of how we fund services through the state Medicaid program. We put out a request for proposal, an RFP, and brought on the Health Management Associates firm, which is the parent company for Burns and Associates. And the goal of that is to look at how we fund services to determine if we have all of the right services and to just help us with how we should best fund and utilize and determine what services we need to best meet the needs of adults with disabilities who receive services through the state Medicaid program. Their target date is to be completed by contract by December 1st, but technically by November 1st, so that we can make sure that any of the proposals that they put forward make it into the budget for fiscal year 2024, which begins in July 1st of 2023. And that's really an ambitious target for this huge project. They are doing a great job of meeting with all members of the DD community, providers, families, self-directing people. They're meeting with the state. When I look at the calendar, I can't believe how many hours they're putting into the various groups of people they're meeting with to make sure that they get a very solid understanding of what the needs and desires of this community are. Their goal isn't to take what they've done in other states and just transplant it here, but their expertise comes from what's happening on a national basis as well, so that they can utilize their knowledge across the country and help us understand what can work here, what doesn't need to work here, and to take that expertise and translate it into what uniquely would be best for Rhode Island. And that's what they're working on. And their proposal will be ready, I am confident, on time to meet the next fiscal year budget. So they're doing a great job. I've heard a lot of positive feedback from people who have met with them. I'm suspecting a number of you have been included in meetings with them. If you're not and you would like to have input on the project, please feel free to put your name in the chat today, and we'll make sure we get that information forward. And again, any questions on that, we will get to those at the end. The State Workforce Initiative is a project that is designed to utilize all state agencies and partners who can impact increasing the workforce and helping to build not just the numbers of people in the workforce, but how we can improve the workforce to develop a workforce, DSPs and people who work for agencies in general, the entire agency workforce, and the self-directing workforce, which in the past, I think, has just not gotten the focus that it needs to get in terms of what we need to make sure that as we grow the population who chooses to self-direct, how we make sure that that they have not only people to work today, but if something goes wrong, to make sure that there's the capacity in the self-directing workforce for people to be able to access staff in emergencies or have a pipeline for people to be able to hire from going forward. There was a comment that was made at a recent meeting that even when things are going well, families know that they're one staff illness away from crisis, and it can throw their whole kind of family off. And it's just almost one breath away from disaster. And what I think that we'd all like to see in the self-directing area is for people to not always be on the verge, meaning on the verge of a crisis or on the verge of anything could go wrong when that phone rings and you're always worried that it's going to be the person you're counting on calling in sick for a day, or even having a car accident, which might not be disastrous, but could put them out of work with a back injury for a few days, or any small event, or a family crisis that could say, I didn't anticipate something going wrong, but a parent has an illness and I need to take care of them. Things that go wrong in the workplace that a larger staff can cover for, but when you're employing individuals, it can be a disaster, and then an entire family is in crisis. So building that, we are working with a consulting firm called Sage Squirrel that, again, an RFP went out and they won the bid, and they're doing a fabulous job. They have tremendous expertise in the area of retention, but they're working hard with us. And they're also working with the ARC and Joanne Sochi's group on an initial phase of just getting a number of recruits into a pipeline, so that we can start to build the capacity to have people, and they're focusing on self-directing, to get people in the pipeline hired and ready for a workforce, so that we can really begin to build this capacity and ease some of the very difficult burden, particularly in the self-directing workforce. So that's where they're focused now. They will also work on the pipeline with providers, and then work. Their bid was for a 3-year project to work primarily the first year on this recruitment effort, and then move into workforce stabilization. They'll work with the statewide workforce initiative, which is also working on building standards for direct support professionals. That includes like higher ed, finding interns who can translate into workers going forward, building up supervision and a career kind of opportunity, so that we can begin to reduce turnover in the workforce as people look at working in this becoming providers for adults with disabilities into a career, and not just a short-term job where the turnover is intense. But people really look toward this, as it happened in the past, into building a career and sticking with this as a long-term opportunity. So that's where we are with that. So that's the consent decree. So I'm going to move off of that. One of the areas that we have really struggled with for years, and not merely because of the pandemic, although that exacerbated the concerns, but it's a long-term issue, is having a residential program that could account for and allow for timely transitions of youth coming into the program, adults stepping down from hospitals, and then the ability for people to move within the residential program when a person decides that they want to change residential programs, moving from one to another, and being able to do that in an appropriate amount of time. So we are working to build residential capacity to allow for that kind of flexibility and that kind of timeliness to move. And we'll get more detail on that. But one thing that we're working on particularly is a transitional home for youth with disabilities. And we'll work on exactly how that proposal is going to come. I should have significantly more information on that at the next forum, but we're excited about the opportunity to build into our system that capacity. Some of the transition to programs talk about capacity building in not only community, but other areas. And so we're excited to see some people collaborating on how that transition can be built. It can be built not only by building homes, but it can be built by moving people who are ready to exit residential care into supported living arrangements, or supported through other kind of community-based, outside, residential is community-based, but outside of residential programs, to other ways of gaining supports without having to be in residential programs. And that would open up capacity for people who need it and aren't able to access it right now. So working on a lot of things on that. but also building capacity where we don't have the capacity that we need right now, and we need to build that out. And so we're working on that. Brenda Duhamel is going to give an update on conflict-free case management and a brief explanation for anyone who's new here on what that is.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So as you may or may not know, the state of Rhode Island is in the process of developing a strategic plan for the creation of conflict-free case management for all of long-term services and supports state. So EOHHS, the Office of Health and Human Services, and its state partners are working together on this plan. We're working with national experts and technical assistance providers on this strategic plan. So just very briefly, the role of case management that is conflict-free is in federal regulations, and what's required is that a conflict-free body do 4 major pieces of work, which is preparation and personal profile development or discovery, development of a whole life plan, referrals to both formal and informal supports, and then monitoring the implementation of that plan and following up. So we recently in July had 3 community forums to talk a little bit more about that with folks. And that presentation is available on a link that I will provide in a few minutes in the chat for you. So you can follow along with the slides on sort of what conflict-free case management is and how we're going about it. Our goal is that we have a strategic plan ready to be shared with folks by the end of August. So we're getting close. The strategic plan has been built off of a plan that a small work group that we sort of did here in the DD community put together, where we've built off that strategic plan. Once that plan is out, we'll spend time obtaining feedback, talking with the community about it, and then making any potential changes to that document, and then creating an implementation plan. So I will get that link to you in a couple of minutes so that you can all see what the presentation entailed and what else is going on. And that's a place that you can continue to go to for more information as it unfolds.
Good. Thanks, Brenda. Jay McKay, who has been out on long-term leave, returned to a highly celebrated office return on Monday. We're delighted that he's back. We need him to be back, and he is here, and he's going to give an employment update for us.
Thank you, Kevin. Good afternoon, everyone. There's not a lot to report on employment, considering I did just get back into the office this week. But just to let you know, the Administrator 3 position that is to replace Tracy as the lead of employment had to be reposted on August 11th, and it closes on the 20th. As most of you know, PSEP 3 ended on June 30th. I'm still waiting for a couple of final reports from the lead agencies, and once we receive those, we'll put together a report to share what the outcomes were, what we learned, what worked, what didn't work, and all that fun stuff. The third thing I have is we will be scheduling a meeting here at BHDDH to discuss how we're going to utilize the funds that were for PSEP in the past. The money is in the budget, so it will be used for employment services. That's about all I have. I will put my contact information in the chat if you need to ask me any questions or have any issues you'd like to discuss. Thank you.
Okay, and then the last item on the agenda for the state is Heather's going to give an update on self-direction.
There's not too much new going on with self-direction right now, but I just want to let people know we continue to have our quarterly stakeholder meetings. I believe our next one is in September. And that's pretty much it for right now of things that are going on with self-direction. If anybody has any questions related to it, you can ask at the end. Oh, one thing I did forget to mention that we continue to work on, because I know people continue to ask about where the state is at with continuing to allow parents to be paid caregivers. And so we definitely are still working on that. I don't have a definitive answer at this point in time, but we continue to work with Medicaid and Medicaid working with CMS on that. I did want to just go back to the technology fund for 1 minute, because I did think I didn't mention how many applications we got, and some people may be interested in that. So through the initial, the first round of requests, we received 265 requests. Most everyone's was approved or needed more information. There were a few denials for very specific reasons. Either the person wasn't, what the item they were requesting wasn't technology. We had some people who requested technology who didn't have active services in our system, and you need to have an ISP. And I can't state enough that you need to have a goal that is in some way related, or will the technology that you're requesting will assist you in obtaining that goal. And that's a very important piece, because we needed to get back a lot of information from individuals around that, because they requested technology, but it wasn't clear that it was related to a goal within their support plan. I think that was all that I wanted to say again about the technology, but I just wanted to let people know again how many requests we had, and again, making it clear that it needs to be connected to a goal in your, whatever you're requesting needs to be connected to a goal in your ISP. I think that's it, Kevin.
Okay, thank you. So what I'd like to do now is open the floor up, so to speak, for people on the call to be able to ask any questions that you have from DD or any other stakeholders, or share any information that you might have that you'd like the rest of the community to know about.
Kevin, we have 3 that were in the chat while you were talking.
Okay.
That people can ask, or I can just read them because I copied them.
Yeah, sure. If you could do that,
So,
that'd be great.
so Ann Peters had 2 questions. One is there any review input time between Burns report submitted and state's budget discussion?
There will, so the Burns, when Burns gives out their report, there will be recommendations. And yes, so I think, and I'll just defer to Ann on this. Are you asking if the community will have an opportunity for input? Or are you asking about input between the state budget office and Burns and Associates?
Both. The question is, supposedly this has been a very open process,
Yeah.
pretty short time frame for community input. And so wondering, as the recommendations come forward, what opportunity will there be input from stakeholders at that point, and for the state to realistically incorporate them into the budget process, if you're saying that the deadline essentially has been moved up 30 days to accommodate the budgeting process?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. The deadline was moved up to make sure first that it gets into the budgeting process, but also to make sure that there is time for feedback from the community, and that it didn't get put in so late that we couldn't hear from anybody. I'll just maybe state the obvious, but we know that there were problems when this came up last time. The date that I always hear is 2011. I wasn't here, but we don't want to repeat the same mistake. So we want to make sure that we get the information from Burns and Associates, that we are able to review it in a public manner. And so I think we're off to a good start on that, and we want to finish equally well. So yes, we will include the community in being able to give feedback on that before anything becomes official.
So you anticipate some Zoom type meetings of this sort, or public meetings sometime in November?
Yes.
There'll be a public comment period.
The next question, in between the one that Ann asked, was one from Michael Eddy.
A note to our viewers. Unfortunately, we just lost the video feed for our ASL interpreter. While she was on screen during the entire forum, we were not able to record her services for the rest of the meeting. We apologize for the inconvenience. Please feel free to contact us if you need assistance accessing this portion of the forum at aina@advocatesinaction.org.
Michael, do you want to ask her? Or do you want me to just read it?
Hi, Deb. I'm really sorry I'm late, but at
You
least
were fine.
Yeah, I was fine. The tablet didn't work on my Zoom, but well, when am I gonna get a new laptop and microphone so I won't be able to go home early and have meetings at the library? When will that? How long will that take?
And you said in your, sorry, I'm interrupting you. You had said in your question that you signed up, you did the tech fund application. So that's part of the question. Okay.
Oh, yeah. And what do you think of my braces?
Nice, they look good.
Yeah.
I really miss you guys a lot.
We'll get back together soon, I promise. But so the question, who wants to, Heather?
I can take that question, yes, Deb. So if you put your request form in for the deadline for the first submission, which the deadline for that was May 31st, if you got it in then, we were trying to get things out in June, but again, we've just, it's the first time we're doing this process, and we did have to get additional information from quite a few people, and so we're still working through that. Once we have that information, which we should hopefully within the next week, we'll be putting together the list to send out to the provider agencies and then working with them to purchase that technology that people requested, and then working to get that technology out to individuals. I can't give you a specific time frame because agencies might have different processes, and also if individuals self-direct, the FIs might do that a little differently. The agencies have to determine what's gonna, work best for them to distribute it. But it should be, it should be coming, and we will continue to update you about where we are in the process. We've been trying to send out emails to the people who have already put in their request for that first round to just keep them updated, and we will continue to do that.
Yeah,
And
I
Heather,
understand.
Being patient, I do appreciate it, because I know people are very anxious. We get a lot of emails, and I can understand why. And we are working very hard to move it along and get people the technology that they requested.
Yeah, we all get anxiety sometimes.
So follow up to that, you're going to send it to the agencies, but the technology devices themselves, those are going to belong to the individuals. Is that true?
Yes,
Or is it?
they will.
Okay,
Yes.
just to
No,
clarify.
it
Okay.
won't be for the, yes. The agencies are just going to help us get them to individuals, and but yes, they will absolutely belong to the individuals who requested them. And I should also mention, because I didn't say this too, the next deadline for the request for the second round of technology is September 30th. I just wanted to make that known too. And again, all of that information is on our BHDDH website, and Andrew did put the link into the chat. So all the information that you need regarding the technology fund, you could find there.
If somebody applied late for the first session, do they have to reapply, or is that automatically carry over to the?
No, it would be put into the second request.
Okay.
Yes.
So then there's another question from Ann, and then Rory had her hand up. I don't know if you still want to do it, Rory, but no. The next question from Ann was, while waiting for analysis of PSEP3 results, what funding is there for folks still hunting for employment? And that's again from Ann Peters.
I can take that. PSEP was not the only funding for employment services. You can continue to utilize your authorizations through getting employment services through licensed providers. There's also ORS, there's a self-employment class and DLT grant. So there's blending and braiding. So individuals can contact the social caseworker. They can make referrals for them to providers. And if you have any further questions, I'm happy to answer those for you.
Just a reminder that the PSEP funding was brought forward, so there is employment funding. We just have to get out the standards, which we're going to be doing in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'm just asking Jay, and I'll follow up directly with you, is, it ended the end of June, and okay, what now in the interim? Because, there was a halt with ORS, or not a halt, but a switch in ORS support. So thank you.
Yep, and if you want to give me a call, my number is 462-5279, and I'll put that in the chat.
Going to go on the internet too, Jay, so everybody will call you. It's good. The next question, Tanya Blicker has her hand up. Tanya Blicker, Ukron.
Hi, about the transformation fund or thing. You said, Kevin, that the notifications went out yesterday, or the money went out yesterday.
Money went out, yep.
But we didn't receive any emails or anything.
What's your organization, Tanya?
Rhode Island Cross Disability Coalition.
Oh, yeah. So you probably got an email today for an appointment. The money went out to Medicaid providers. So if you're not a Medicaid provider, you didn't get any money yet. So we need to work with you on how we can get the funds to you. So
Okay.
you're correct. There were 4 or 5 agencies who didn't get funds based on not being a Medicaid provider. And I asked Cindy Fusco to set up a meeting for those providers who didn't get the funds yesterday so that we can expedite getting the funds to you and kind of work out whatever the kinks are that we can get taken care of for the last 4 or 5 agencies. So we'll help you with that.
Okay.
But yeah, thanks for reminding me of that.
Okay, thank you.
But I think it's going to be set up if it isn't already. And we just sent it to whoever the lead person was on the grant. So if it wasn't you and whoever the lead person is, if they wanted to include other people, they're more than welcome to include the whole group. But we sent it to the top people, the lead people on the applications.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Ann, you can ask them live if you'd like, or I can read it. I'll read this one and then you can follow up. Is there somewhere to see what new programs are underway through this phase 2 of transformation funds?
Well, I do have a spreadsheet, but I don't think it does justice to them. Let me just talk. So Andrew's on the call. I'm not going to put him on the spot, but let's see if we can get Andrew. Can I just say, can you and I work together to get some kind of comprehensive summary out that's better than the worksheet that I did, which was really for me to kind of target the money rather than I looked at it today because I kind of thought people would ask about that, but I don't think it would do justice to the grants, but I kind of anticipated people would want to know that as a group. So we'll work on that and get that out.
And get that out at the DDD site, or?
I think likely we'll post it on the website, but we can figure out what the best way to help people access it would be. But yeah, I think that it would be great for people to see them and see the range of innovation on them, which is really exciting. And, I thought about kind of mentioning, I did a few things today, but I don't think I think it would be great for people to be able to see the entire range and all the needs that the people worked hard on these applications, all the efforts that went into them, and the whole range of the needs that people are trying to meet through these innovative grants. So yeah, I would love to get those out.
With, of course, part B being what sort of availability are these spots already spoken for, or are they looking to have more people participate in their upcoming programs?
Yeah, so it varies. It depends on who the applicants are, but yeah, there's availability. That's the whole point. Yep, to make things available to people, depending on what the needs of a particular individual are. A number of them are pilots, so that it's not a do or die. It's let's see how we can start this out and make it a permanent part of what we do.
There were a couple of questions in the list that people sent in that might be separate. So one of them is, what are the options for live? It says pro-social activities for members of the DD community. If anybody here has anything, or I don't know what you want to do with that, but that's one of the questions. I'm not sure if it meant pro-social, but it says that. So
So I'm gonna speculate that it means like proactive ideas for social options. Does that sound right?
I don't know, because it didn't have a name with it, so I'm not sure who asked it, but it says, I mean, it might just be like, what can I do for socializing? I'm not really sure. I know you had said that you were going to see if anybody had any kind of things to share like that maybe, but that's what it says.
So
It's kind
when
of
you think of
individualized.
like the consent decree, there's a lot of focus on employment, but a lot of things on particularly the second phase of the transition was what do people want to do? And so for all of us, work is awesome. But what we really want to do is like, what else do you want to do? And so while we all love going to work, we like to get out and do fun stuff. And what does that mean to each individual? And I suspect that's what the person is asking. Like, what else can people do? Working is great and we want to get out and we want some employment, but we also want full lives. We want to do things that drive us to enjoyment and make us, if all you did was work, who the heck would have any fun? So, I mean, there's a handful of people who just like to work and we all know those people, but they're not always the most enjoyable people to be around either. So who has interests beyond work and what are those interests so that it makes you glad to go to work because then it makes you glad to do something after work and have that full balanced life. And so a lot of what went into the second phase of the transition planning was, what do you want to do to access the community? And by that, it means, what do you just want to do to enjoy your life, to make it full, to make it active in a way that really meets your needs and kind of makes you feel like the full person that we all want to be. And at various stages of your life, that means something different when you're 22 than it does when you're 52. So, and at different phases of our lives, it means different things, and we can reevaluate that throughout our lives. It doesn't always have to be the same thing. We can try things, we can figure out we like them or don't like them, and that's true for employment. We can think we want to do something, and then we find out, I know a million lawyers who don't really like the courtroom anymore. So you can try things and then try other things. And I think that's part of the full life. You can try social activities, you can be in groups, you can do things independently. It's the full gamut of what the individual wants to do. And I mentioned at the beginning, I'm just going to pull it over again, but one of the themes that came out was hearing your voice. And I'm speaking specifically to the adults with disabilities and gaining knowledge and understanding by the service providers of what the person accessing those providers needs. And that's really what it comes down to. It's great. We're going to build up the workforce, and that's what we really have to do. But it's kind of pointless to build up a workforce if they already think they know what they're supposed to do. The whole issue is, at the end, we're going to say it, right? Nothing about us without us. And so
That was wimpy. Come on, everybody.
Oh, come on.
It really has to be, as we build this up, to constantly being accessing that theme of making sure that we are engaging in what the adult with disability community needs, not only needs, because there's some things people need, but also what do you want to do? And so if that's what you're asking with, what about your social lives? What do you want to do? How do you access a full life of work and play, work and enjoyment? I think that's really where we're heading, and I hope that's where we're heading. Both things.
Two more questions. One is,
I see Susan Birch. I just saw your hand. So if you didn't see that, Dan, just so you get Susan.
okay, do you want
It's
to ask
up-
it now, Sue, before you forget? Because I know that feeling.
I worked 23 years at the school.
And you have a social life too, right? Kevin was talking about work and having a social life. Like you do things besides work, right?
Oh God, I'm very busy. I go
Yeah.
pottery, bowling. The summer is bowling.
Is bowling?
It's nothing to do.
Boring. It's
Oh,
boring.
boring. Yes, yeah.
Tomatoes, Sue, tomatoes.
Yes.
It's time.
Yeah, 'cause
She's
call
my
me
farm
and
help.
I go.
Yeah, sometimes summer is boring, but it's not for me.
You know, I actually think that part of what is coming out of that is, like you just said, Kevin, everybody has different things, but
Yeah.
people talking to your peers about, well, what do you like to do? Well, what do you
Yeah.
like to do? I mean, that's how it happens, right? And so that's really cool. Why you said that that's part of what you're doing is looking to find out and make it that people ask people, what do they want?
And maybe
You know.
trying things that are new
Yeah, try different
that
things.
you might find out you like that you didn't think you'd like.
If you have a question and you don't want to type it or you're not a typist, you can raise your hand like Sue did. There's two more questions. One is, are consumers still able to participate in the tech fund if their ISP doesn't include communication skills in their current plan?
All tech questions go to Heather, so I'll defer.
So yes, absolutely. You don't have to have communication. And actually, if your goal in your ISP is related specifically to communication, you may be able to actually purchase technology related to that through some other programs, which we've told people about too, so that then they can use the technology funding for something else. So it just needs to be a goal that you have in your ISP that really is something related to maybe getting, you getting a larger access to your community. Maybe you need assistance with transportation, trying to take the bus, figuring out bus routes. And so maybe you get an iPhone and, work on, get some apps on that to figure out how to, what the different bus routes are. I mean, there's so many different things you can use the technology for. It could be fitness related, it could be cooking related. Again, it could be employment related. So there's so many possibilities. I don't know, Andrew, if you can think of any other ones, feel free to jump in, but those are just the ones that right off the top of my head I'm thinking about. But I think the possibilities are endless. We all use technology every day in our lives. We've become dependent upon it. I don't know if that's good or bad, but we definitely have, but it definitely helps. It helps with reminders for all kinds of things in your daily life, to keep your schedule on track, to help you get places, to help you with fitness, and other healthy choices in life too. So many things.
So I'm just going to put a little plug, speaking of Andrew, and then Scott. Where are you? Are you here, Scott? I know you're here. Scott Hopkins. The two of them did a presentation at our conference this year about everyday technology. So if you're sitting there looking for ideas, it's on our website, so you could go watch that. And then the other thing was, if it's not in someone's plan, the plan is not written in stone, right? I mean, you can change your plan.
Change it, you can
as Steve will
update
tell
it,
you
amend
instantly.
it. Yes.
Yeah. The other question, I don't know if it's a question or it's a comment, because it's written like a comment. If someone has neighborhood health plan, they are eligible to attend the YMC for free. Whoever asked that, is it a question or a comment?
It looks like a comment. I believe that's accurate. So
Yeah.
Wait, is it
Just a
Amethyst?
suggestion. Yeah.
Can they do it for free?
Yes. Yes.
Cool.
I've been in contact with neighborhood health plan, so it's something they had told me about. So I just wanted to spread the word on that, because it sounded like people were looking for ideas.
That is awesome. Seriously,
definitely.
That's a big thing. Wow, thank you.
Yeah.
Can I just say a little bit more about that too as well? They do a buddy. They also, if you have neighborhood integrity, they'll do a buddy kind of system where if you need to get groceries or whatever, they might help you do that. They also have, so let's say you come out of the hospital, they'll connect with the hospital and the nutritionist, and you can have meals. They partnered with a meal, somebody that sells like meals, to kind of come in and have meals ready for you at home when you first come out of the hospital. So those are really the three that they're doing.
Do you know where there's more information?
I imagine if you go to the neighborhood website, I don't know right off the top of my head. It's only for integrity members though. It's not for any other program.
What is an integrity member?
People that get Medicaid, Medicare together.
I don't see any other questions.
I
'Cause
saw
people-
one in the chat, Deb. I did. see
Another
something
one?
in the chat, I think.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's from Vinny. Vinny, do you want to ask it or do you want to read it?
Yeah, I was just wondering, doesn't really apply to me specifically, but a person I used to peer mentor and I helped them acquire this. I was wondering if the technology fund helps people with like zero vision acquire an app or an app such as the KNFB reader that helps that actually reads the whole email to the individual and they can respond by verbally speaking and it would text it.
So can you pay for apps with it or just technology, just hardware?
Yeah,
Nope,
it's a,
You can pay for it can, the fund can absolutely pay for apps, and people have asked for that, and we've approved those too.
okay, thank you. I was wondering because I know it wasn't cheap. It was like $50 for it.
Yep, absolutely.
Heather, if people apply and they get hardware and then they find something like Vinny just said, software, can they reapply for that or is it a once done deal?
It is a one time because we have to make sure that there's enough in the fund for everybody in the system. So we're trying to be very mindful of that so that, you know, everybody has a chance to put in, you know, a request. But it does say it specifically in our frequently asked questions. It does say it on the technology fund flyer. And I believe it is in our the request form too, that it says, you know, you can purchase hardware, software, apps. I believe it does state that in many different places so that you know when they're filling it out that they can ask for those things.
So, and again, just to Andrew's and Scott's presentation, because they shared a lot of links. If you're not sure, they mentioned a bunch of different apps and Andrew gave the recording to what's on YouTube. But if you go to the ANA website for that, where it's because it's embedded in the website, it has those links like right there on the page for things like, what is it, Andrew? Able Ops is one of the sites. There's a bunch of sites and there was one that they mentioned. I can't remember right now, but it was this amazing site with all these different apps about accessibility that people might want to go there and look at stuff before they put in their final request. Andrew's looking for it right this second. Look at him.
And I would really suggest that people do that. The one thing that we really have tried to put forth in all of the information that we've sent out to people and put on the website is to really, and even in the forum, the 2 forums that we've had, is to really make sure that people think about it, what they want and what's going to work best for them. Because again, it really is a one-time option for, you know, or chance for people to get technology that's not coming directly out of your authorization. So you really should think about what's going to work best for you, what you'll get the most use out of, and what's really going to help you the most in your daily life to meet your goals. And not just think like, oh, I just saw this in the latest Target ad or Walmart ad, and I just want to buy that. It really should be, you know, a thoughtful process to think about what's really going to work for you so you can get the most out of it.
Were there any other questions, comments, anything to share?
I just texted Andrew, but I'll just say it out loud about the new technology training, like the peer training, because maybe that people could get some help. It's hard to figure out technology and apps, but we're ANA and Sherlock are collaborating with some training you might be able to take advantage of. If you need help, you know, if you're sitting there and you're like, I don't know what to get, you don't have to do it alone. We're gonna, you know, we have people that will be able to help you.
Sorry, Deb, I was looking for another link to put in the chat, so I missed your message. So yes, you know, a lot of folks have shared that feedback with the technology fund, looking for supports to be able to utilize technology. And so myself and Kim Einloth actually had the opportunity to get some additional training from Jennifer White, who some of you may know. She's a national subject matter expert on technology and has been working with a number of community providers as well as the Division of Developmental Disabilities. And yes, so the Sherlock Center and Advocates in Action are really excited that we're going to be partnering on some trainings that will be offered in the community around how to utilize technology in your life. So stay tuned, and we're really looking forward to when we can share more information about that. Thank you, Deb.
Another one in the chat. Kenneth Sebesta still waiting for authorization from options to implement budget increase for DSP staff as of July 1st.
We'll look into that, Kenneth. I can't give you an answer for that today, but I'm just making a note of it right now. And we'll look into why there isn't an answer for that. And so we should be able to get back to you tomorrow.
There's no other questions. If anyone has one, you can raise your hand, or Sue has another one.
I am going to have a new phone, but I have to wait the people to okay.
Did you use the technology fund?
Yes,
See, there you go.
I got two things. I'm waiting for it.
I think it'll be worth the wait. It's coming. Yeah.
Yeah, oh
I
yeah.
think so too, and thank you for your patience. I know people are waiting, and we do appreciate it. Appreciate your patience.
Maybe we'll be able to get a newer version.
I got the old junky phone.
Oh, don't even
Yeah.
talk about. She's still. Oh boy, her phone.
Yeah.
You type into it. Great for somebody who's not a typist. It's wonderful. We hate that phone.
I just wanted to say that I put that information in the chat, and it's got all the information, but if you go to the link that says benefits, it kind of talks about all of the benefits that were mentioned. So
All of the links that people have been sharing, when you watch the recording and you go just to the website, the links that are in there, you'll be able to click and say, oh, there's open that link, and you'll also just see it pop up as they're talking about it. That's all the questions that there seem to be.
I don't want to end too quickly, so I'm letting it get quiet just in case it prompts someone to ask another question before we go.
Or share any, you said share any, any
Share any
updates
information.
or news, or sing a song, or no, don't do that. Don't do that.
Okay to end early if you don't have questions, but I wanted to, again, thank you. The sun's coming out, at least in Cranston, so I guess that's going to be true everywhere. Not that we don't need the rain, but it's always nice when it's sunny. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I'm going to tell you, we had a lot more questions this time than last time, so I appreciate your engagement. It's always great to see everybody. We will meet again. Deb, tell me when. Let's see, this is November?
November.
I'm just finishing complaining about the heat. By then it will be getting chilly.
No, it's going to get hot again over the weekend, so it's not over
Oh,
yet.
is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not done yet.
November 2nd.
November 2nd?
Yeah.
Second.
Oh, that's good. So earlier in the month before the holidays get here. That's great.
So we'll be able to talk about the Burns report.
Likely, yes, we should be able to really, and that would be a great opportunity. And I bet Ann, you will be the first one to read it, so that would be great. And maybe we can even have them come on the call.
Mm-hmm.
So that might be a good would people like to do that?
Yes.
That would be good.
So why don't we do that? And I'll ask you, Deb, let's just ask Burns and Associates, we'll say it tentatively, to come on and talk to us on this call on November 2nd.
Okay, Michelle. Michelle is the
Michelle, yeah.
coordinator of all things. Deb is just the comic relief.
Well, now I know your role because that's my role. I could tell you that I'm going to do it, but you know it wouldn't actually happen. So thank you, Michelle. So we'll work on that together. All right, so that's good. So we have a kind of a fun plan for November 2nd. We'll look forward to that rate review being completed. And then, and we answered a question that, are they going to be ready to talk to us? And we can be the first group to give them input. So that would be wonderful.
So is there a way to send people a link to the report before the, I mean, it's going to come out on the 1st, but if people have registered, even on the 1st week, if it is ready, who knows?
That's probably a premature question for me to give any more promises.
Yeah, okay.
than I've already given.
We'll just sing instead. I go back to the
I'm
singing.
scaring the daylights out of Heather as it is. No. All right, folks, thank you so much. Wonderful to see you. It's a great time to get together. Tell your friends and colleagues and other folks in the community to come. Tell them how much fun we have and look forward to seeing more people next time. It was great to see you. Thanks for your questions and your participation.
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks,
take care.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Contact the Division of Developmental Disabilities. Phone 401-462-3421. Para dejar un mensaje en español, 401-462-3014. Email bhddh.askdd@bhddh.ri.gov. You can watch this recording again and find out more about the topics that were discussed at www.advocatesinaction.org/DD Community Forums. Produced by Advocates in Action, Rhode Island, 2022. Remember, nothing about us without us.